Hey guys, on this edition of the Rev Cooks, a real specialty, shrimp burritos with a delicious sauce, nicely cooked shrimp, some veggies in there. It is no wonder it's a family favorite. Hey everyone, Rev Blake Dog here. So today, shrimp burritos. This is one of those favorites of one of my two kids in particular. In fact, when he was away at school, when each of our kids were away at school, when they were going to come home for the weekend, we'd ask them like, "Hey, like, what's the dish that you just really miss, that you really want to have when you come home?" And almost without fail, he'd always say shrimp burritos. So it's a classic family recipe. My wife actually stumbled upon this somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but we're going to start with the thing that we always need to start with is making the sauce that we use for it, because that needs time to sit in the fridge and kind of get the flavors all running together and melding together. And so there's going to be a couple things that we're going to need for that. Old Bay seasoning is one of the main components of that. Some lime juice, it's a mayo base, and Sriracha. So we're going to go ahead and get this going. So take a look. All right, so as I said, this is a mayo-based sauce, which is kind of a lot of the ones I do is just because that gives a nice hearty and rich flavor to it. So we're gonna start off with a cup and a third of just your garden variety mayonnaise. You can use whatever sort of you like here. There's a lot of different mayos. The thing about using mayo, of course, is getting out of the bottle can be a little bit of the messy part of this. So good job there, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to level that off. It doesn't have to be perfect, we kind of just do what we think will be about about a cup there, and never mind the mess on the table. So there, it's about a cup full there. Okay. And then, like I said, a cup and a third. So here's a third cup here, again with my mayo. My kids get annoyed by me tapping like this to, sometimes to sort of level it off. But again, with sauces and things, it doesn't have to necessarily be like perfectly exact. We like it if things are precise, but not the end of the world if it's a little bit off. Okay, so a cup and a third of mayo there. All right. And then to that, we're gonna add some lime juice. I already squeezed it because our juicer is in the dishwasher, which you might hear in the background. All good, I do live here after all. So this is 3 teaspoons of fresh squeezed lime juice. I'm gonna add that in there. And then 2 teaspoons of Old Bay. So again, we use this kind of frequently for certain types of dishes. We like the flavor of Old Bay. It's got a very distinct flavor. So 2 teaspoons of that. And then we need a tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of Sriracha. You can obviously vary this quite a bit. If you like it more spicy, you can add more Sriracha. That's where the heat comes from. If you like less, you can obviously add less. The balance for us, we really like the 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon of Sriracha. It seems like that's really the heat level that's most comfortable for us in this family. As my wife likes to say, with this particular one, the sauce is boss. She says that, and it's funny to all of us because she says it every time. So 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon of Sriracha. Okay, and then we just gotta mix this guy up here. So you can whisk it, you can mix it, whatever you want. Just make sure we get all that lovely goodness together there. It's gonna have this nice sort of a real flavor. You can smell it, it's so good. We do really enjoy this sauce on this. It is definitely one of the best parts, but when you mix, it's gonna give you this sort of a pinkish hue to it. Once you get that all incorporated, I of course like to use a spatula because you wanna make sure you get all the stuff mixed from the bottom as well. So we mix that together there. Nice stir there, okay. So it's got a very, like a very pale pink color to it. The more Sriracha you add, the more Old Bay you add. You can obviously tinker with the actual ratios here as much as you like. But the more that you add, the deeper the color would be. But you want to make sure you get this going early in the day because after all, you want this to sit in the fridge and for those flavors to really sort of get working. Because when we actually get to constructing the shrimp burritos, this is one of the main components to it. So, okay. So with that done, we're going to move on to the rest of the recipe, cooking the actual shrimp filling. So that's next. All right, so with the sauce in the fridge getting cool and getting all melded together, we got just to chop up the vegetables, chop up the shrimp, kind of get the rest of the guy cooking up here. So we get going on this onion. The recipe does say to use half of an onion, but this is a really rather small yellow onion, so I'm going to go ahead and use this whole thing. Plus, I mean, if you use a little bit of extra onion, it's not a big deal, right? I mean, hey, who doesn't like a little bit of onion in their burritos and whatnot? So I'm going to just get this guy all chopped up like usual. And I've kind of talked about this before, the way that I chop up an onion, which, may or may not be like the full recommended way, but it works pretty well for me and I like it, so that's what I'm gonna do. So just gonna get this guy chopped up real quick. You want sort of a medium size, maybe not anything super small or super large, but it doesn't, I mean, again, I've said this before, it doesn't really matter. I mean, this is food we're gonna eat, so as long as we like it, as long as we think it's chopped up like we should, it's all good. So get this guy chopped up. So I don't like this guy kind of rubbery, so I'm going to toss that. Then over here, a little piece there. And that is half. So again, depends on the size of the onion. I kind of use a little bit of a, the size test. If I look and it's a little bit bigger, maybe I just use half of it. If it's a little smaller like this is a pretty small one, then I use, the whole thing. So just depends on what your feel is for that. This guy's not totally cooperating with me, but where there's a will, there's a way, as they say. So I'm not gonna let this onion defeat me. So that's chopped up decent. If you want to add a few more chops in there, feel free, but not a big deal either way. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in the pan here. Okay, just for a nice little place to store that bad boy. And then the green bell pepper here. So again, that kind of depends on size and how much you like green bell peppers. So I'm gonna take that top off. I'm gonna go ahead and chop these guys off. Like maximize my use of vegetables here. So, and then we're just gonna chop this guy in these, decently sized pieces, more or less the same size as the pieces of onion that you're using. So, you can chop them down as much as you want. But then of course, we want to get rid of the, the interior right there with all the seeds and all that. So pull that out. Seeds get everywhere. All good. Clean up later. While my eyes begin to tear from the onion. So, okay. So most of the seeds off of that. I like to chop this guy in half. And then sort of like chop it in slices like this. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It has to be what we like because we're the ones eating it. So, and then, just give the guy a nice medium-sized chopper. Or maybe this is small. I don't really know. I'm not actually a chef. Hard to believe. No, it's easy to believe. But I just cook what my family likes. And, they don't like everything I cook necessarily. Not all of them. I mean, at least some of them, or half of them, have to like, most of the things that I'm gonna make these videos on, but some of them, everyone likes. This is one of those that, almost everyone likes. One of my sons, it's not his favorite, but he thinks it's good, so that's all good. Not a big deal. We don't all have to be in love with the same thing. So get that guy chopped up nice there. Okay. Pretty good. And then go ahead and add that to the pan, because these guys are going to get cooked here in a second, okay? So that takes care of that. All right, so those guys are onion and bell pepper chopped up. And then the next thing, it says 2 cloves of garlic thinly sliced. I'm kind of lazy on this. I just take, you know, like the pre-minced garlic here. It doesn't have as much flavor as, you know, a garlic that you cut fresh, but you know, I think it's still got enough flavor for me. And I don't really measure this. I just go like, hey, you know, we like garlic. That's a lot of garlic. But we like garlic in this house. If you don't like as much garlic, or if you don't like garlic at all, then cut it down to a substantial amount. But you want to have some garlic in there. Garlic's got a lot of great health benefits, a lot of great flavor. So we add about that much. And then sometimes I add oil, sometimes I don't. I use avocado oil because it just got a lower flash point. I feel like it's better than anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put a little bit of that in there to give it a little bit of something to work with there, okay? So I'm gonna put that aside. I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and then we're gonna work on the shrimp. I like to have it all chopped up first before I really get into the ins and outs of the cooking, if I can. That way I can just kind of put things in as they go. Those 2 things are gonna be cooked first, and the shrimp comes in later. So let me go ahead and clean up a little bit, and then we'll get on to the shrimp. All right, so the recipe calls for 2 pounds, and I'm not joking, 2 pounds of shrimp. It sounds like a lot, but this recipe does make a lot, which is good because we like it so much. We, you know, make lots of leftovers out of them. You can make burrito bowls or just burritos or whatever and have leftovers. So there's a couple different ways that I've experimented around through the years of cutting up the shrimp. And when I first started making this recipe, we'd just go like halves like this, and we're like, okay, well, that's good. But then you got these sort of decent sized chunks. You know, I've also done it where we've done it in like thirds before, like this, and it's like, well, that's okay too. I've done it with just whole shrimp before. It doesn't, I mean, I don't really care about the size of the shrimp, because what I typically do now, the sort of the trial and error process, we sort of decided like just sort of a, you know, a medium, kind of a chopped up version of the shrimp like this. It doesn't have to be like this really great, you know, version of it. So, you know, they just, they're a little bit hard to cut because they're shrimp after all. So I'll generally take a handful at a time like this and kind of just do a little chopping on the guy. And, you know, whatever I get, I get. If some of the pieces are bigger than others, not a big deal. If some of them are little tiny pieces and fragments, not a big deal as well. So this is kind of a big piece. Maybe I'll take that out, kind of give that a little bit better chop, you know. I get the, you know, the pre-cooked shrimp, because I mean, I could get the raw shrimp, that works as well, but the pre-cooked shrimp, just one less thing for me to worry about when I'm actually cooking, you know, up the food. Although shrimp is very easy to tell when it's done. I just buy the 2 pound bag of pre-cooked tail off shrimp to make it a little bit easier for myself. I don't want to fiddle with the tails and all of that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and chop up all this shrimp here. It's a little bit of a process. I don't love this part of the process because it's fiddly, right? I mean, I'm always afraid that like I'm gonna be chopping this and like chop my finger off, and I don't want to do that. So just be careful, because the texture of the shrimp is kind of like the texture of your finger, so you won't even know the difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop this up fully, and then we'll check back in a sec. All right, so call your friends into the room, because this is the moment you were looking for. This is what 2 pounds of chopped shrimp looks like. So all kidding aside, I know it looks like a lot of shrimp, but these are shrimp burritos, not onion and bell pepper burritos. So the meat part of that should be substantial. I did tell you this is gonna make a lot, but that's fine, because again, you have it for days on end afterwards. It goes surprisingly fast in our family, just because it's such a delicious combination of flavors. So next thing to do is I'm gonna go ahead and take this, and I'm gonna head over to the stove. We're gonna start working on the cooking the bell pepper, the onion, and the shrimp together. There's a little bit of order to that, and a little bit of spice that goes in that as well. And then once we're done with that, we're gonna be to the assembly step. So let's go. All right, so here we go. So we got our onion and bell peppers here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat on. I turn it on to about medium high-ish. What we wanna do is kind of give it an initial sort of stir around here to get those flavors all mixed together. I got my rice going over here, just plain white rice. Nothing added to it. I'm gonna have to control my temperature a little bit so I don't get a little boil over, okay? So that's cooking there, which we'll add, of course, to our burritos. We wanna get this nice and mixed up, make sure the oil gets a nice thin layer on all these guys here, okay? So we're gonna as I said, about a medium high. We want to cook these down till they get to be, kind of on the translucent phase, not anything like cooked till they're dead. We still want some flavor in them, but we want to make sure that, they cook down to a pretty good, sort of down a little bit. They'll create a little bit of moisture as well. We're also going to get a ton of moisture when we add the shrimp in, but at the moment, all we're cooking is the onions, bell pepper, and garlic in the oil. And, you can smell the flavors there. Smell the onion, you smell that garlic. Oh man, can you smell it? I mean, oh, hear the sizzle? Yeah, that's how we know we're starting to get to work here. Oh, lost a guy. So, and then there's a little bit of a discrepancy in terms of like, when do we add seasoning? There's a little bit more seasoning we're going to add into this. We're going to add some cumin and some paprika a little bit down the road here. What I like to do is I kind of like to wait till this is sort of a little bit cooked, sort of near the tail end of the cooking of the onions and bell pepper, or even wait till the shrimp has been added. It doesn't really matter. It kind of does, but it kind of doesn't. So you do as you please with that. Not really a big deal either way. So I'm gonna get this guy cooking a little bit, and then we'll check back in when we're gonna start adding some stuff in. Okay, so we're starting to see some action here. As you can maybe kind of see here, the onions are starting to kind of get a little more translucent there, kind of a clearish quality to them. So at this point is when I typically will add in the cumin and the paprika. So we're going to add in a ½ teaspoon of paprika. Sorry for hitting the camera there, but hey, I gotta get some food going here. And a ½ teaspoon of cumin. Cumin's a pretty strong flavoring and scent, but we do like that flavor and scent, so we're going to add that in as well. Again, a ½ teaspoon of both of those guys. Okay, and then we're going to give that a nice mix. Oh, yeah, you can smell that. Ooh, man, that smells good. So, getting that rolling here. Okay, once that looks like it's pretty good and incorporated there, again, the onions and bell peppers are kind of starting to get soft. You like that? Good soft texture to them. The garlic's adding. Oh man, this smells so amazing. We haven't had these in a while, so that's why I'm, overwhelmed by how wonderful it smells. So once it kind of gets to this point here, we're going to go ahead and add in the shrimp. So here's your 2 pounds of chopped shrimp that you showed everybody in your family what it looks like. Just kidding. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there. And give it a little stir, keeping the heat on medium-high at the moment. It's probably a more efficient way than this to, I know people do the, but I don't really have that skill because I'm just a normal dude cooking food for my family. So, so we're gonna get this all stirred up here, okay? And the shrimp was cold because it was came from frozen, and then I thawed it, obviously. So all you really want to do is you just want to kind of cook this down until everything is kind of warm. The danger with the shrimp is if you cook it, first of all, once you start cooking it, it's going to release a lot of moisture. So there's going to be a lot of liquid in the mix here. But you don't want to cook it down too far because the shrimp, it shrinks down and becomes real shrimp. Oh, good one. So you do have to be kind of careful not to go over the threshold. So I like to kind of cook it down just till it's kind of warm. You're really just trying to warm this up, but it takes a little while for the shrimp to all warm up. So, and we do want to get rid of some of the moisture that will build up, okay? Because as you can maybe already see here, there's already a little bit of moisture coming from the shrimp. The shrimp hold a lot of water. They are from the ocean and all. So, just go ahead and kind of let that sit for a minute, start warming up. But again, all you're trying to do here is get this whole thing to warm up. Once this whole mixture is warm, we're ready to take our rice when it's cooked and all the other ingredients, which I'll show you in a second, and then we're ready to assemble the most glorious shrimp burritos you've ever laid your mouth on. Okay, so it's about warmed up here. You can always tell because it's kind of super liquidy. See how there's some water liquid down there? I kind of turn the heat down a little bit here because you're just trying to keep this guy warm. So I kind of go till it's a little bit more on the lower side there because once you have that liquid, it's telling you that this guy is basically ready to go. If you want to check the temperature, of course, you can just take a little piece out and eat it. But, oh man, it smells like shrimp burritos are going to happen today. So we're going to go ahead and let that stay warm. Our rice is just about done, and then it's on to assembly. All right, so with the shrimp filling all cooked up, what else do we need? Well, we're just gonna have to do some assembly, but we gotta cut up some avocado because avocado is everyone's favorite friend. In our home, we eat a lot of avocados, so we just kind of show you how I do this. I sort of start by slicing around like that, make a little twist to pull apart. Looks fantastic, got a big seed there. I like to put that guy down, give him a little chop like that, and then a twist, and he pops right out, okay? Then we go ahead and get rid of that. So I go to the trash can, which will be out of view because nobody wants to see a trash can, and get rid of that seed. Then I come back, and to slice up the avocado, I take a largish spoon. I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna scoop out this avocado in one sort of a big turn there like that. And then we just kind of go along here and just give it some nice slices. I like to thinly slice it, that way I can put you know, a lot of them on. You can cube it, you can slice it, you can dice it, you can do whatever you want, actually. Again, it's your food, do as you please. But we like the sliced ones for this particular dish, so again, sort of just scoop that guy right out and then slice them on up. And you want to maybe keep another avocado on hand because, you know, one's never quite enough, but however many you need. So other than the avocado, so there's our sliced avocado, what else do we need? Well, got black beans. You can make fresh black beans or you can take them out of the can. This is canned black beans, whatever. Not everyone in my family puts the black beans in it. That's all good. You have some shredded cheese of your choice. We prefer the Mexican style blend of cheese. I don't exactly know what that has. It's just what I find at the local warehouse store. Some coleslaw mix, or you can just use shredded lettuce or shredded cabbage or whatever. Coleslaw mix is easy. It's got a little texture in it with the carrots and purple cabbage and whatnot. Of course, you're gonna have to have the best pico in your life. I created this yesterday, so it's had a chance to really get the flavors together. So we'll use some pico, of course, and then the sauce that we made earlier. So with all those things together, it's just about assembling the most perfect shrimp burrito you've ever had. So let's get that going. All right, we're ready for assembly. We've got our shrimp filling, we've got our cooked rice, and all our accoutrements. So let's get after this. So there's no correct way necessarily to build a burrito, right? You can make a burrito bowl if you'd like, but for me personally, I like to start with the rice on the bottom to provide a little bit of a base. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of rice down here on the bottom of this guy. Okay, maybe a little bit more than that. And then I like the filling next. The filling has got like a little bit of liquid in it, so I sort of drain a little bit of that out. Put that filling on there like so. That's as much or as little as you want. Keep in mind that the more you put into this, the harder it will be to actually roll the burrito, which I'm sure you're all gonna laugh about when I actually try to roll this thing in a nice way. Then I like to go with the coleslaw mix or shredded cabbage or shredded lettuce, whatever you like there. Kind of put some of that in there. A little bit of the cheese. I like to take my sliced avocado here, kind of lay those guys in there like so. Okay. And then we like to put, you know, the sauce we made earlier. The sauce is really, you know, comes together well now. Smells delicious. You want a good amount of sauce because the sauce really gives it that great boost of flavor here. So good amount there. You can always make more sauce if it's not enough. A few black beans, you know, just a little bit there. And then of course, finish it with the fresh Pico, well, fresh meaning like a day ago or so. Pico de Gallo. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay. absurdly large burrito here. We're gonna try to fold this guy up. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways to do this. You know, kind of the fold in, fold over, and then the fold over and the fold over, and roll the guy up. There you go. Nice, fresh shrimp burrito. We can give this guy a little slice here. Look at that. All that delicious goodness there. Pop that on a plate and you're ready for a great meal. All right, there you have it. Shrimp burritos, one of the family's absolute favorites. I hope you like it. Until next time, enjoy.
A Rev Blake Dog production.